Yeah, we'll wait.
Okay. Second, open meeting and roll call.
Which you just did.
Cool. Public comment.
I don't have anybody on Zoom.
Cool. Next is review and approve minutes.
I don't think I sent them to you, so we'll do that next time.
5 task force member updates.
Did you say task force member updates?
Did I print you the wrong
Oh
agenda?
my god, stormwater task force. That was
I
on
don't
here.
think I put reorg on our agenda.
It says task force member updates.
I grabbed this.
I didn't
yeah.
print the agenda. Let me go print one.
That does say that, oh, but not there, shouldn't say that.
That's funny. I was like, I might be able to pull it up on my phone.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I looked at it earlier.
That's me. Okay, it's not too bad.
Not too bad. Okay, I don't feel anything. I mean, it was literally yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just dripping. Yeah, that's what it is.
course.
Yeah. I didn't know that it was common for people to be able to breathe out of this thing on their face. So, for the whole 27 years of life, I have not been breathing through my nose. I had bones growing like along my airway, like blocking off my airways. Yeah. But like after the surgery, when you're like just coming out of the anesthesia, I was breathing through that nostril and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna change my life.
Although this would come in handy now that I know that if I put something in front of you, you'll just read it.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, with a copy of this.
Thank you.
All right.
They look very similar.
Well, we still don't have public comment, but next thing is town official meet and greet.
So,
I looked at it prior and it looked good, and I sent it to my boss and everything looked good on our end, so.
okay. Did,
I did see it.
you
It was
guys
good.
see it? Okay.
I'm sure not everything is from AI. I think you, yeah, it's to assist you.
Yes, so it's a very useful tool when I just have the facts and I can just plug it in and it forms it and then I edit it, but please time. Did you have a chance to read that at all? It's basically just a description, like a lengthy description about the town official meet and greet. If you didn't, that's okay. But if you guys think it looks good, did you get a chance?
I did. I had a couple of questions.
Okay,
What's the audience? Because it's 2 pages long. And
yeah,
if we're using it to entice or get people here, I find 1 page works a little bit
yeah, that's
better
fine.
because, and you know.
It was
like-
basically just a starter.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the
Yeah.
information is in here. I wouldn't call us esteemed officials. I wouldn't call it a unique opportunity because what we're trying to do is demystify town officials.
Yeah,
And
true.
we're just people like everybody else, where, you know, it's not unique. You should be able to walk into the office and meet us more or less anytime.
Yeah,
But like, I think the idea behind it and the content of it, for the
Yeah,
most part,
we can
makes
swap
sense.
out words, not a problem. Yeah,
You know, when you graphics and
Yeah.
flash
Yeah.
always help, because you can,
Color.
you know, it's great because you can send it to people, but you can also post it places.
yes,
Mhm.
And the more people who see it, the more people you have who might attend.
right,
I know it's targeted to business, so.
right. So that I kind of felt like it could go to either audience
Mhm.
with some tweaking.
Sure.
So that's why I kind of was just like, this is a good starting
Mm-hmm.
point because it just gave the overall picture. I'm totally okay with criticism and changing it.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I think in general, it's great.
Yeah.
I just wanna understand what we wanna achieve by it and who we wanna give it to.
Mm. I think probably just some tweaking for each, so the businesses and then the,
Hmm.
you know, town and staff and
Mhm.
whatever that we're inviting.
And it can also be two documents, one that's more elaborated and one that's a postcard.
Yes.
to
Yeah.
entice people.
And so I think that's too where, maybe speaking with, and I always forget her name, the woman that's in charge of the social media
Kara,
to, yeah, consolidate some verbiage for whatever her use is for
Mhm.
social media and whatnot. So maybe at some point we can, I don't know if that's something that you guys would want me to meet with her, or if we wanted to, I don't even know if it's a possibility to set up like a short bonus meeting just to talk to her about the vision for that and to get stuff put out as far as announcing. Or if we wanted to just provide that information and say, here you go, this is what we're wanting to.
I would say the committee wants to drive what goes out. I wouldn't wanna give it to her and say, figure out how you wanna do
Sure.
it, because
So basically, you just need to know like Facebook and website, and then we should format what we want on.
I would think so. And I mean, I don't think that it's wrong for one member to meet with her and sort of dialogue about what that is, and then
And then come.
even if you have a bonus meeting to sort
Okay.
of put it together, that's.
Sure. Would you guys want me to, would you be okay with me setting up a meeting with her and discussing that and then bringing it back for further discussion?
I mean, the other part is, since the information doesn't, no one seems to object, so the burden is not on you. Sometimes if you just pair up with one other member,
Yeah.
where you can get this done, you don't have to wait for the next meeting. to
Right.
have it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I mean, if everybody's like, we like the information, then
Right.
the format is really just dialing it in. I don't think,
Well, if
you know,
you-
we're not gonna argue about color schemes, and we
Right.
could, but it doesn't make sense. to-
That's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is the content in that form looked okay
Mhm.
and just kind of put it out. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the Lunenburg Business Association does not want to be involved. I'm not sure why. It was on the past two members' meetings, agenda for me to talk about, and there was enthusiasm, and I asked for support, and it seemed like I had support and then something shifted, and so I just wanted to kind of bring that up and see if we were still as enthusiastic, knowing that the Lunenburg Business Association would not be involved.
Do we know why?
I do not know why. I asked for a further explanation, to try to put that ball in their court so that it wouldn't come from just my perspective, and I didn't get a response. So I'm not sure.
Was it? Well, I think since this is my opinion, you know, but since this is a business, has a business goal for Cooperville. Having the business association not wanting to be part, I would wanna understand why, so that it doesn't feel like we are, in case we are doing something that's displeasing the organization.
Right,
You know, it'd be great to understand that, or they, I mean, it could be we're tapped out, we don't see a way to join forces.
right. That's a good point.
So, but if it's, there you have a reservation, it'd be important, I would
Mm.
hope to understand, so that
Right.
we're not going down a path that is
Right.
disagreeable to them.
I did clearly ask 3 questions in hopes of getting an answer so that I could just eliminate sharing my own perspective and the gossip and drama involved in that. The questions I asked was, if the concern is that the LBA hasn't voted on it, when will the next vote be? Because I think that's a valid question to ask. If it's because the LBA is overwhelmed with current events, would they be interested in us potentially rescheduling this event so they can be involved? And 2, do they just simply not want to be involved in this event? And those 3 questions weren't answered. So
You have any idea?
No, I get all my LB information from Josie.
Yeah. And it is a very awkward position to be in, because to this point, I've been kind of the mediator. And when I'm at their meetings, I'm fully present, and I only share things from here that I'm allowed to share. And same with here too. They had a couple events that we've been working on, for example, through the LBA, and I haven't mentioned it here, but now that they're public, I mention it, right? And so
Is Wendy still the president?
she is,
Maybe I'll reach out to her next week and see if,
that would be good.
you know.
I don't know if I
Coming-
personally stepped on.
I was gonna say,
anybody's
coming from a
toes.
different perspective,
know.
if there's different, you know, like you said,
Right.
maybe there's some
Hmm.
conflict that you don't know about.
Right, and I'm wondering, I know I can come across as sort of aggressive, you know what I mean? And
Yeah. No, for real, like, I didn't see that.
well, that's nice. Um. But I want to eliminate the issue being me at all, because to this point, I've been the communicator, and if I'm not being communicated to, is it me? I don't know, so it may be a good idea for somebody else to chime in on that. I do know that in the past, they've mentioned. Well, we haven't had an official vote on it. My personal concern with that is that we haven't had an official through the LBA a vote on many things. And I've recently requested that the articles for the LBA be posted publicly so that people could see that format and abide by it. So hopefully that can help with some confusion in the future, so that, because maybe I misinterpreted it completely, the support and the encouragement. And that's something that I don't want to happen again if I made that mistake, and so. I need to know the difference from them. What some just verbal support is with no backing or like an official vote, so. If it is my mistake, I apologize in advance, but I do think that another voice on that would be helpful. Because I do think it's weird to put on this event without the LBA, and I don't know. Because now it's silent, I don't know if they're coming at all, or if they just don't want to assist.
And is the concern that they feel the Economic Development Committee is asking or expecting them to provide some material support that they're uncomfortable or unwilling to give?
Right,
Or do they feel that this has been something that's sort of been thrust upon them and they're just like, whoa.
yeah.
So that's a reasonable conversation.
So
I can have
after,
with her.
yeah, after the last meeting, you know how we talked about, you know, the actionables for, so Kathy was gonna check on like the porta potty situation. Supposed to check on tables and chairs availability, we all kind of had those things. And we discussed the LBA potentially being involved with getting a vendor for food. And so in the past, they've asked for me to keep them updated on this event, and I have been. And so after that meeting, I said, okay, it's gonna be, I think it is Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't know the details, but I gave them the details, the location. A little short description of what it would be, just the things that we discussed during that meeting. And that we would ask for their support in getting food vendors. And then in that message, I also thanked Judy for offering the Lunenburg Diner, gave her kind of my heartfelt thanks for offering that, and that because we don't know what the capacity is to avoid that situation, we were gonna go with the Low Places Ranch. So in that message, that's what I included, and that's when I received that the LBA would not be involved. And so then that's where I kind of pushed for further explanation and didn't receive it.
Farm's not a member, I don't know if that has to do with it.
And
Trying to
that's,
set the-
no, I know, and that's,
Sorry.
I've had some like.
Yeah, it's your fault.
I've had some like scenarios in my head, but it's just too like emotional and almost gossipy to even.
I guess. Even if that's the case, that, well, that obviously is the case, you said you work for the farm, you would know. The opportunity for their members to participate in other ways still gives visibility. And so I would hope that that minor
Yeah,
variance would be something that we could work around. I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah,
There'd
even
almost
if,
could be an opportunity, like, you know what I mean, like, I don't really have time to go to the mixers and stuff
Oh,
like that, or learn too much about the business association, so it almost could be an opportunity to have a conversation with one of the members while we're down there.
and, you know, there are plenty of businesses who aren't members and they have these same issues and same concerns. And maybe it's an opportunity for the LBA to stump for membership amongst people that, you know, it gives them exposure as much as it gives the town exposure, I
Yeah.
guess, so.
Yeah.
and even if they want to come, but that they're
Yeah,
too
they're welcome to come
overloaded.
regardless.
Yeah, that would make sense to,
Mhm.
but it would be really nice to have that answer and. The questions were not answered, so. It was awkward.
Ashley did reach out to me before the meeting too about porta potties, so I think her and I are gonna collab
Awesome,
task.
that's good.
How are we, I know I wasn't here last meeting, on attendance from people in town, or we
You
have
know,
not sent it out,
I have not
okay.
run it up anybody's flagpole. We talked about formalizing the date and there were some action items. And Josie has sort of kept me up between meetings on some of these other items, so until this group was like, yes, we want to go ahead and not worry about it, I don't want people
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
be like, yeah, and, you know,
I think that was the last question before we step forward, is
Yeah.
the LBA.
are we totally
Yeah,
in good graces everywhere?
so, because I think the last meeting is when we nailed down the date, we nailed down the location and, defined what we wanted it to be. And between that time is when I wrote up that description thing and that the situation with the LBA happened, which. Before we get that sorted out, we definitely don't want this event to step on anybody's toes, so.
And we have a department head meeting next Tuesday, so I can at least put the date and the time and the sort of concept in people's head that this is likely gonna happen,
Right,
probably worth penciling in your calendar, and then kind of go from there.
and in passing, I have told people that, and I don't think there's any harm in doing that for, people involved. at the
Yeah, and I know Lou has mentioned it at select board meetings, so, I mean, it's out there, it's starting to.
We also have other people too, like Senator Cronin, that's penciled it into his
Mhm.
calendar and staff, Mass Development, Mass Hire, the Center for Women in Enterprise is planning to attend. I think Representative Margaret Scarsdale and other people like that, I've asked them if they would be interested, because I know their schedule fills in quickly, and so they've all penciled that in as well.
Margaret's really good, and they like her.
She's really involved, that's
Yeah.
nice. So those are the people that are now aware of it. I haven't told any businesses
Mm.
because that's when I think word would spread quicker than we want it to, it not being really contained.
Yeah, but sort of tying down those organizations,
Yes, 'cause
60,
they
90 days
schedule
ahead of
out,
time is
yeah.
worth it.
Yeah. But I think that's where we are on that. I think we're ready to go
Mhm.
after I would definitely pass that torch to you as far
Yeah,
as.
and I'll
Because
reach out
maybe
to
I'm
them.
just too close to the situation, so.
And, you know, again, I guess I put it to the four of you is. Even if they say we're not doing it, is it something that you want to go ahead with? I mean, and obviously based on why, if they say. why.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to know if they have what concerns they have.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would
Or
too.
if we're, you know, or for the town, right? I mean. If, like, just thinking us as the town, so
Right,
just,
because I know that I'd always refer to each organization as they, even though I'm
Right.
involved, but they have expressed the desire to be more united as a,
right, so,
and that seems like a good spot to do that.
yeah,
So
so I think we just gotta, you know, ask, Adam reached out and, you know, just us getting an insight on that,
Mhm.
that's it, it's, you know, I'll sure.
I think I've poked it, enough to not be annoying, so,
Yeah, I like
If
it to be enough.
yeah.
it's just because they're too busy. Yeah.
I mean, if they're just too busy, then just show up and set up your table
yeah,
and
come and eat food.
bring your people and we'll figure out the rest.
Like, there's different levels of involvement,
Mhm.
you know, because they have contacts and they're, you know, just being able to put their.
Sometimes putting their logo on is just enough.
Exactly. you
They
know,
did
and
say that they
send
would
them an
push
email.
it to their contacts, but that they didn't want the verbiage in partnership with their logo anywhere on it because they had to vote, which is again why I'm a little confused.
Yeah, so
So-
I think we'll just get clarity on.
How often do they meet?
We met officially for the first time since I've even been on the board, like, last month. I think we're meeting again on the first.
So
Um,
Like next week.
Wednesday,
yeah.
hikers.
But no official voting structure has ever taken place since I've been on the board, which is again why I'm very confused.
And has their logo been used in partnership elsewhere?
I don't think so. I mean, it's only been
So-
events that they've put on.
So that, then I guess that, you know, feels sort of in line with their standard practice.
Sure,
Um,
and that's not really what I was asking them to.
No,
So.
I know, but I'm just trying to
Yeah.
wrap my head around like. What the conversation might look like or
Mm.
some potential. You know, so if it's something they haven't done before, I understand
Yeah.
trepidation.
But maybe it can be as simple as, will you attend and just leave it at that.
You know,
Right.
but we haven't done it before either, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's just ask a question and just
See what
wait,
goes.
wait,
They're just people, so are we. We can
Mhm.
have a conversation.
yeah.
But to answer your question, I think it's still an important event to have.
yeah,
I'm obviously committed to that, so. That's my voice on that matter, is we would have it. No matter if a certain organization doesn't show up.
Mhm.
Should I start looking into catering or food then?
I mean, the challenge is funding at that point.
I would be willing to fund it. So I mean, I feel like that's kind
Well, you gotta know how much it is before you say that.
Yeah.
Well,
The number one rule about business.
Well, no, actually, because I kind of feel like this is my responsibility. as
No,
well.
it's
Like
like,
that
just,
thing,
don't
so
go down that road. We're ready to go down that road. That's just.
I'm not trying to like elevate myself at all. I'm just saying, like, it will happen. So if funding is the issue, I'm.
We'll
willing to
figure
take
out,
that on.
we'll figure out. Just, and I think like. There's different ways to cater food, an
Yeah.
event, you know, you can do with just having plates where people, in fact, Margaret Scarsdale's party of her election was, there was just a bunch of plates out. You know, you can get really good.
That's it. You can go to
plates.
BJ's and just get a bunch of chips and some beer.
Exactly, yeah, you know, like you can go down to Market Basket, they have trays that you can buy with like,
Right.
different things.
That's a question I had too, because I had thought about that when I host like parties or events or something. That's what I do is go get a bunch of pre-made stuff and make a
Mhm.
spread. But then I didn't know if like the Board of Health would get involved.
If it's free,
No, well, you're purchasing it from an approved vendor.
Oh,
You know, it's
so I'm
not,
not making.
it's
it
not
up.
like your Nana's rolling cold cuts in the kitchen and you don't know
Right,
what,
you're making, yeah.
you know,
The
it's come.
Cats crawling on them.
Yeah, it's come from an approved food vendor who is
Right.
licensed, so.
not only that though, but you're not selling it, you're not profiting off of it.
There's weird about public serving food to the public.
You can throw a party in your private
It's
property.
different, because those are people you've invited. If you put a post out that says, come to my house and eat a bunch of food,
Then you've got a problem.
you, you could have a problem. So it's a weird space, food giving, even giving food away, there was, you know, if you put cooked eggs out on the side of the road, or like have some free deviled eggs,
Ew.
Board of Health, well, I kind of tried to pick the grossest thing I could think of, but the Board of Health is gonna shut you down. Because they don't know where the food was made, they don't know what the sanitary conditions of the person making them were, they don't know if they were cooked to temperature, all that kind of stuff.
Here, come slurp some raw eggs on that sidewalk.
Deviled eggs, not raw eggs.
Shows the farm. We've had to, like, if the 4-H Club is trying to do a fundraiser
Yeah.
in a food booth, it had to have been delivered pizza. We can't even go pick it up.
Yeah,
Oh.
So the pizza place has to bring it right to the farm and then we can sell it.
Or if you sell prepackaged stuff, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's already come from a controlled environment, that kind of
Gotcha.
stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, so there are options.
I think
Alright.
hot dogs are like the one thing that
But-
anybody can do.
I wonder, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure. Like, just like reaching out to like a Lunenburg business or someone that would be interested in hosting this in hopes like, oh, sponsor, like Port Hueneme sponsored by
Yeah.
so-and-so,
Yep.
just to get their name out there. I would wonder if like a Lunenburg
Well, that's where
food
it's like,
business would
well, but
kind of
it's like,
wanna
you know,
donate
I
some
think-
appetizers.
me, I would hit all the financial institutions in town. And connections in marketing workers, but I mean, you know, you get hometown, I mean. you know,
Yeah.
So,
And yeah, like you said, with food, there might be people who are willing to send trays of
Cause
this,
then they
that, or
already
the
have
other
their
thing.
permits, we
Yeah.
know they're in
Yep.
Lunenburg, they're, yeah. Okay.
You know, a food truck or something like that becomes more challenging.
Food trucks are tough.
So they're tough to get because they're busy all the time.
Mhm.
So just so we can eliminate kind of some time and waiting and planning. Have we decided that we will have the event, whether or not the LBA is involved?
I wasn't here last meeting, so I don't know discussions that we had, that was had.
I think it was just,
It was more, everything sounds good, let's just make sure the LBA is ready to go. And now it sounds like they're not ready to go, and the question is, do we push forward without them? Or, and I get, it sounds like from what Anna's saying is if there's some significant concern,
yeah,
then maybe we don't, but if it's just, we're too busy, we haven't voted on partnership, something like that. Then maybe the economic development pushes forward and just
Right.
invites the LBA and says, hey, we're doing this.
yeah.
Come on down, if you want to set a table
Well,
up,
I
go
agree
for it.
with that. If there's something
They
big,
elaborated way better than too, but yeah,
yeah, gotcha, okay. I'm on
you
board.
totally got me.
Yeah,
I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
and then so. If you have that conversation with Wendy, how soon would that conversation potentially take place? And then is
I'm
that,
Drowning. I'll try and do it on Monday.
and then is that something that you can share through email, or do we have to have another meeting to move it forward? You know what I mean? Cause I would still have to meet with the,
No, because it's informational, I can share it.
okay,
He's not bound by open meeting law.
Well, yes, I'm not, because I'm staff, so I'm distributing information,
gotcha.
but. Y'all can't respond
What are you laughing?
to everyone.
it's just, it's so much fun. See, I live in regulation, reg E, reg D.
Yeah.
You know, GG, that kind of stuff.
You just can't send stuff, you can't send discussion back to everybody. If you have individual commentary, you can send it directly to me.
Oh,
But
And
you can't
everyone can
reply.
have individual commentary that they send to one person only.
Yes, namely me. You can't, everybody can't send all of their commentary to a board member. Because
I
then,
thought they can, because that's how they do the town manager review.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It just- But it gets complicated, and I always advise people not to do that, because the one time that. That member says, oh, I got this comment from that person, and they say it to another member. And
It's
it
like,
kicks a
oh.
quorum, it's record scratch, and you've then violated it. So you're right, they can do it, it's dicey. So it's easier for it to go through staff.
that sounds like y'all's problem.
It is.
I think that's it as far as that goes, and we'll wait until,
Yeah, we'll just wait, but it sounds like,
Yeah, I'll commit to doing that next week, hopefully before the LBA meeting.
okay,
That brings us to member updates, comments.
what does that mean? For what?
It's just kind of like a catch-all, so
Oh,
anybody has anything they wanna drop on us?
comments. Oh,
Speaking of.
well, things that the LBA is doing on a separate note that the town should be aware of is we're having a dumpster fundraiser. They're calling it the Fabulous Fall Cleanup. That's happening at the Brooks House.
We just got an email about that from the superintendent today.
Yeah. So. That's gonna be August 19th. For people to, so Been There Done That is offering 3 dumpsters. They're putting them on the parking lot there at the Brooks House. And people can reserve like a car, a SUV or a pickup truck full of stuff to bring. And so they're gonna pay for their slot rather, I mean, if you have too much stuff to put in your little personal dumpster at home, but too little to get like a roll-off dumpster yourself, you can just load all your stuff in the back of your car and take it. But that's a fundraiser in support of the Lunenburg Business Association, so they can get more funds for events. They also have the charity golf tournament, I think that's September 23rd.
Yeah, I think you said it was the weekend before this town event.
And then the,
Yeah, it is.
okay,
Commitments.
the trunk or treat is going to be a drive-through and walk-through this year at the high school, and that's October 29th. The cool events in Lunenburg, be aware of. Other than that, no.
It's Sunday. School,
What?
the 29th of October, and Halloween's on a Tuesday.
That would be great, as the farm
No,
participated.
because we've always done something at the farm,
Oh,
so. and
but on like Halloween stuff?
That's,
That's
so
it.
I think,
Cause I think they're doing it earlier.
yeah.
It's fun.
Cause we've, though it was funny, cause we always do it on Halloween if it's a weekday, but wasn't last year a weekend or the year before? There was some weird, cause I remember someone reached out to me, but
Cool.
I think we did it the same day. Because I, blew at the barn and in the meadow, like it was the same thing, but I tried to do ours, I think the latest, because trunk or treat, blew at the barn. Like throw your candy rounds,
Yeah,
but we can probably do it this year.
you participate and hand out raw meat. as candy.
Oh, yeah. Board of Health would love that. New business updates, 88 SF.
So we had a gentleman come in about 88 Mass Ave. He wants to do a golf simulator.
Ooh,
So he would take the remainder or a significant portion of the remaining open space. So 88 Mass Ave is where the painting place and
Oh, yeah.
Barber, yeah, where Grand Rental Station used to be. So he'd be looking at putting in a golf simulator that has bar and restaurant associated with it.
Very cool.
So he's talking 3 or 4 booths and maybe some pool tables to fill out the space.
I've heard, kind of a desire from people my age that are like, oh, we're kind of tired of like just going to bars. I wish there was something fun to do around here.
Yeah, so that's,
Very cool.
yeah. He has an established business in another community and he's looking to this way.
As a secondary.
No, as moving his business.
What happens next for him?
He met with myself and the building commissioner. It was a good meeting. There were some questions about parking and how much space he was actually taking and what that calculated out to for parking. So he was going back to the landlord because that building is an unfortunate hot mess.
Yes.
The people who own it are wonderful and they did a really nice job fixing it up. There is, that corner of the building is crossing a property line. And
With Mackey's.
yeah, and the parking that is out there striped along the Jersey barriers is on Mackey's property. So that whole triangle that they used, that Mass DOT used when they rebuilt the bridge is Mackey's and it's associated with the lumber yard. But it's really useless to the lumber yard. So the owners that are there have a signed lease. I don't know what the length of the lease is, but they were negotiating potentially purchasing it. And there's a question about how that lease plays into parking on site. And, you know, if it's a 5-year lease, how do you guarantee that that remains over time? And they have parking currently, but it's just a matter of, he could go in there. But to build out the whole space would potentially require additional parking that isn't on site. So he and the owner were going to talk about where she was with either purchase or long-term lease, and where she was with him potentially dividing the space and using a smaller footprint to fit the parking that was there.
Is there enough room in there for a kitchen?
He said it's, you know, kitchen is, I guess, a loose term. It wouldn't be like a restaurant.
Like a
It's-
sink and wash area.
Yeah, and it's mostly prepackaged stuff that he's reheating, you know, pizzas, hot dogs, that kind of stuff where he's feeding people, but not, you know, he's not chefing it up. Where they have, you know, raw ingredients and, you know, fryers and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Especially where each of the golf booths is like 900 square feet worth of space.
Pretty neat.
Master plan update.
Just plugging along. Right now, we're sort of in a holding pattern because it's summer. The master plan consultants are putting together their existing conditions report, I think is what they're calling it, which is sort of just, this is where we're at. We have most of the committee put together, so I'll be reaching out to them next week to look at scheduling an opening steering committee meeting. I think we have 11 members seated of the 15, so. That'll must be 10.
Those you got approved?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, I haven't, I'm way behind.
That's all right.
So we have 4 at-large members remaining, and we're waiting for the select board to give us someone.
Cool. Oh, when is the next, what do you call them, the planning sessions? For the master plan, they were not called planning sessions.
The next public meeting will be in like September.
Okay.
So the steering committee will meet, the existing conditions report will hopefully be at least out in draft form for the steering committee to get a hold of and sort of react to. And then we'll have a public meeting in September. And at that meeting, the consultants plan to unveil the model of Lunenburg. They're making a physical model of the entire town to bring in and have a, you know, something for people to look at and point at and sort of feel. They're still dialing in what they want that to look like. And, you know, we talked a lot about basically the topography of the town, how that impacts everything and how to represent that on a scale that is approachable and readable at the size of model. So they're talking about doing an exaggerated Z-axis to really get an idea of what the rolling hills look like and how they fit together with everything else around.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
And at Monday's planning board meeting, one of the members suggested that we work with them to try and make it so it can be on permanent display somewhere in town once it's completed. Once the master plan is completed.
Things not cheap.
No, I mean, we're paying for it, so.
I know, it is a
Okay, cool.
little tiny reason.
Yeah, and then they've talked about, as they get further into the process, maybe doing more site-specific models to kind of model out and talk about and plan specific areas as they make recommendations.
Am I borrowed my stuff?
Put little backstops on Marshall Park.
Yeah. I mean, the one cool thing, if you guys want, is to do it according to the master plan. Because otherwise it would be outdated within the next
Well, I
year.
don't think they're going so far as to put all the facilities and stuff. I think they're just gonna like note where stuff is, because they have to be able to transport it. So they're talking about it being multiple pieces they bring in and sort of puzzle together.
curious where you find out even how to get those made. Or where-
So,
Architecture school.
yeah, I was gonna say, I have a friend, she's on that, and when you first out of school, you spend, well, before they.
In school, you spend a lot of time making models.
But like,
or like,
engineers,
you're class.
a lot of them were 3D printed now.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have to like,
Yeah, but you
Design.
can probably model, like.
you probably
use-
model it in CAD and then you feed it into the 3D printer.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the lead firm of our consultants is an architecture firm.
Ah,
They're an architecture and urban design firm, and they've partnered with a woman who's a planner and zoning specialist, and RKG, which is an economic and housing development planning firm.
seems pretty.
So committee discussion
We've all had.
and no more public comment, so. Everyone
Record
else?
time.
Good, close meeting,
Need a motion.
need a motion to close the meeting.
Make a motion.
Let's say,
Let's close the meeting at 6:48.
Wow, that is the quickest that I've been involved in.